Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Maitri and I'm very passionate about tabletops and I'm learning to be a better GM, a better player, and a better person. And I want to share some of the cool stuff with you that I've been learning. So, Wizards of the Coast has been busy lately, lots of releases. There was the phenomenal Journey Through the Radiant Citadel. There was the confusing 1D&D and the disappointing Spelljammer. I'm not going to talk about the mechanics of any of them. There are loads of other videos out there that'll do a way better job about that than me. But I do want to talk about the business and the impact of Spelljammer specifically. What gives me the knowledge to talk about the business of it? I get paid a lot of money in my life to come up with business strategies, and I'm good at what I do. I'm well versed in that space. I'm not trying to brag or say that I know Wizards' inner workings or anything like that. I'm just making the point that I have the experience and the knowledge to be able to make some educated guesses because of what I do for a living. For folks who don't know, Spelljammer was a highly anticipated re-release of an older setting. There are underlying issues of people being generally disappointed with the mechanical quality of the book. Things like, disappointing mechanics for ship battles, even though you're ostensibly space pirates. Basic shit like that, not like finicky specifics, but big overarching problems. Within this, there has been further concern around one of the playable races, the Hadozee. The Hadozee are monkey people who are slaves to the elves, just so thrilled about being able to surf. Or they were until like 2 days ago, when Wizards issued a retraction. The art as well distinctly mirrors art that has historically been used to caricature Black people. So I'm not going to go into why that is an issue. It objectively is. If you want to understand more, and I highly suggest that you do, you should seek out Black voices on this subject, because they are the ones that should be platformed and listened to, especially in this and in a lot of areas, but this specifically. One person that I specifically recommend, not just for discussion on this topic, and the cultural impact and meaning of this, but about race and equity in tabletops in general, is the Umbral Knight. I'll be linking his Twitter in the description for you to check out. So, WOTC released a racist depicted playable race. Pretty much immediately, everybody responded with, this is crap and you're stupid for thinking it's not crap. 2 or 3 days into this reaction, WOTC issued a pretty milquetoast statement apologizing and publishing an errata for D&D Online. Effectively, it didn't make any changes to the physical books except saying that future editions would be modified. The changes they made were to modify what was considered the most problematic parts of the Hadozee. This has prompted a couple of things. The first is that people are asking, if you realize now that it's a problem, why didn't you realize it before? It was just as racist 2 weeks ago, before launch, as it is now 2 days after. So let's put a pin in this, because I want to come back to it. And B, what's being done to prevent this in the future? WOTC has not said anything to that effect. It has also prompted the awakening of basically all the slavery and white supremacist apologists to complain that this is just one more example of WOTC giving into the woke mob. So there's this sort of general anger about Spelljammer right now, and if you are a cynic, this is something WOTC did on purpose because outrage marketing is a very effective tool to reach people you may not have reached otherwise. I certainly wasn't planning on buying or talking about Spelljammer. I'm still not, but here I am making a video about it. Anyway, going back to the point earlier, which is, if Wizards realizes now that it's a problem, why did they not realize before? So to this point, basically, one of two things has happened. Number one, the issues around Hadozee were identified and brought up to the leadership of the project, who then ignored it. This may have happened, but for a company as big as Wizards, with a parent company like Hasbro, it seems super weird that feedback that would fundamentally change a playable race in your highly anticipated release would be ignored. So maybe this happened, but like, who really knows about how the project team was managed? I personally don't super think that this is likely. Number two, they didn't catch this because there was no feedback given, because it was not something people who worked on the project had registered. At this point, I want to say, realistically, if Wizards had someone around the table, anyone around the table that had an ancestral history of colonialism or slavery, basically most black and brown people, they probably would have caught it. So the easiest answer, if we are going by the KISS principle, is that the Spelljammer team had limited or no black and brown people on it in like production capacity or like a review capacity, or probably even in a decision-making capacity. But let's play devil's advocate for a second, even though I really hate doing that. But let's give Wizards the benefit of the doubt and say that, they had at least one or two people of color on the team. Here's the thing with that. Not every black and brown person might be looking at this with the lens of cultural sensitivity, and they may not see an issue with this stuff. And that is completely and totally normal, honestly. Like, unless your team leader has specifically asked you to review something with a cultural sensitivity lens, when you're reviewing the work, it is not appropriate to assume that just because somebody is black or brown, they will prevent the company from making cultural missteps. It's not appropriate to ask anyone to put in the emotional labor, but it's especially not appropriate to ask people that you would do that, but that you won't expect from your white employees. Like, if they asked everyone to put on a cultural sensitivity lens upon review, then maybe black and brown team members, if they had existed, would have caught it first because we are closer to that stuff. But certainly it should not be only their job to call it out. Everyone should be watching for this kind of shit. And on top of this, maybe hire a sensitivity reader or a consultant, because as I said, the cultural sensitivity review is extra emotional labor, and it is inappropriate to ask that of employees who may not have signed up for that, regardless of their skin tone. So what is my central point? Three things: the what, how, and the why. The what, diverse thinking at all levels is what is needed. There needs to be diverse representation with space for different perspectives to expand and to exist in all project areas. In the ideation, in the writing, art direction, project management, editing, and most importantly, in decision making. How? It's really easy. Hire and promote black and brown people and use sensitivity readers or consultants. Why? From a cold capitalist perspective, to avoid cultural missteps that'll hurt your brand and bottom line. Also, potential revenue growth and a bigger pool of potential team members. This is not just a nebulous insight. I will link a McKinsey & Co. article, set of studies actually, for folks to check out if you want, on how diversity and inclusion in the workplace is what companies should be pursuing for long-term sustainable growth. Not only have McKinsey & Co. done this study, this is one of the studies they actually put on their website to show future clients how robust their methodology is and how impactful their findings are. So I highly recommend checking out that set of studies if you have a minute. From a more human perspective, to mitigate harm to vulnerable folks, to increase visibility and representation, which has been sorely lacking, and to break down institutional barriers. So that's all I wanted to share today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.